Hi, 6th grade. We are starting our second week and final week of writing our research report on a place. So this week we're actually writing it. So you should have your research done and your notes taken and your outline completed. And I'd like you to send me pictures of those, of your notes and your outline. Okay. So you'll have your heading. You'll put your title of your place and underline it in the center. And then I tell you here, for this writing assignment, you're to write a research report using the outline you created from your notes. You may write it all in one sitting. However, I have scheduled it out for you to write it in smaller chunks over the course of a few days. So this schedule, and it's on your main schedule also, has you watching this video today. So check, you're doing that. And then writing your introduction. And your introduction is all here for you. You'll want to write a hook, something to attract your audience, and you hopefully still have my example, but most of you can use this idea. Some of you may need to tweak it a little bit. It just depends on what place you're doing. It may not be the same context, but you can still use something similar to this. So when someone stands in the place where monumental events have occurred, it is often a time where great learning and appreciation can happen. So notice here I had take, and that's because when I was writing it originally, I was going to write take place, and I didn't want to repeat that word place. And so I changed it to happen, and I forgot to get rid of this take that I had typed. So when I read through when I was reading it to you that first time last week, I noticed that and crossed it out. That's proofreading. Okay, that's where you fix the mistakes. Okay, so that's something that we'll be doing later this week, along with revising. That's where you change things and make them different or better. That's revising. And then proofreading is checking for errors. And then editing is actually fixing those errors that you caught. And then you do your final draft. So this week we're going to get the rough draft done. Obviously, the better job you do the first time around, the easier it is later. I'd like you to hand write them still before you type them. Most of you will do a better job if you hand write them before you type them. You don't have to type them. That's up to you, but it is really good practice. If we were at school, we would be typing them together, because that's what Miss Heidi has you do. You turn in typed rough drafts for your writing. That's a standard junior high practice. So if you can do that, it's a good thing for you to do. But otherwise, your rough draft doesn't need to be typed first. I know it's the easy route to just type it, because then you don't have to write it and then type it. But odds are you're going to make more mistakes when you type it if you haven't written it down. So just bear that in mind. And Miss Heidi asks that same thing too when you are in her class. She asks you to write it down and then type it. That's what she does too when she writes things. She writes it down on paper and then she types it on the computer. So it's a good practice to get into. So you could even today write your rough draft by hand and then type it. And that would help you. And then you would also catch mistakes that would make it easier when we go through that revision process. All right? So I got distracted there. You have your hook. Okay? Something to bring the reader in, kind of let them know what you're talking about, but you don't have to say exactly the place you're talking about. And I don't ever say, this is a report on, because that is boring. We don't say that. I hope you like my report about Gettysburg. No, we don't write that. Okay, so don't do that. So an if-then statement, or like this is a when statement, those are helpful when starting them out. It's a good way to have a hook. You could ask a question. Have you ever wondered about the history of a... questions aren't the best way, but sometimes they can be interesting. You just don't want that to become your habit, to always start with a question. But anyway, that's your hook. That's your first sentence. So you can use mine as a guide, and that will make it, take away some of that challenge. Okay, then you want to make sure you're letting us know what your place is and some information about your place without saying this research report is on. I don't ever say that in here. So I've kind of described a place where you can learn something. So then I say one such place of importance is Gettysburg National Military Park in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. Notice how this is all capitalized because it's the name of a place. And then this is the city, state. This park can appear to be simply a lovely place with its rolling hills and valleys, trees, and physical monuments. However, and then I talk about my first event. So I've here, in these two sentences, I've talked about what the place is, where it's located, and kind of what it looks like there. That it's not like dark, it's not all concrete, it's not, some ruin, or, I've kind of made it clear. It's not in the desert, it's not in a rainforest. I don't know. I've made it kind of clear where it's, what kind of terrain is around it and things like that, just to help the reader understand what it is that I am talking about, help them understand the place, help them to have some kind of visual about it. So I could kind of imagine myself standing in a nice park, and it's big, and it's got some hills, and it's got trees, and I can kind of picture myself there. Okay. Then you write about the events that you are going to talk about in your essay, in your report. So here I say, however, like it's not simply just this lovely park. It's the location of the largest battle of the Civil War, where thousands of American soldiers lost their lives. It is also where a president made a very famous speech. So this was my event 1, and this is my event 2. If you only have one event, then you won't have that second one, obviously. And if some of you decided to add a third event, then you would list that here as well. And then your clincher, your thesis statement. Okay, so remember with an essay, that clincher statement on your introduction is like a thesis. So that's a main point. That the thesis statement is the thing that somebody could read and know what the paper's about. That's kind of the point of the thesis statement. So my thesis statement here today, and you could put the name in, so I didn't repeat it, but you could. Today, this national park serves as a reminder to all who visit of the sacrifices made for the freedoms we enjoy today. So this clincher, this thesis statement, lets my reader know that it's still there. It's a reminder. It's become a national park, that there were sacrifices made there, and that those things gave us our freedoms. So a lot of big ideas are in that little sentence. And you might be able to use this exact thing. You might need to change national park because it might not be a national park. You might need to change some of those things around, but this kind of idea, this pattern of the sentence is a good a good way to end your first paragraph. Okay, so that's your first thing that you're going to write, and that's all you need to do today is to write your introduction. So if you want to handwrite it and then type it, that would be great. And remember, that will help you later because you will just naturally do some proofreading as you type it and revising and all of those things. You'll just naturally do it because you'll notice things as you're transferring. Okay, and then over the next few days, you're going to write your body paragraphs. So you'll have 2 or 3. It depends on if you're doing one event or 2, because you have your one event, and then you have your paragraph about today, what it's like today, the present day there. So let's put here one event. So you either have this, or you'll have 3 because you're doing 2 events and what it's like today. So I write those paragraphs on Tuesday. Okay, it should go pretty smoothly because if you have all your outline filled out, everything's right here for you. I even tell you the sentences you need to have. So you need to have a topic sentence and the name of the event in there. And you can use mine as an example. Okay. Gettysburg was the site of the largest battle of the Civil War. It's a pretty basic topic sentence. It tells where it is and what event happened there, and even in a detail about the event that it was the largest battle. Okay, so that's here, and then you'll have your details, at least 3 sentences, please, with your details. And then your clincher. So repeat the name of the event and finish that paragraph. And I guess in mine I don't really repeat the name of the event, but I could. That could be something that when we practice revising and proofreading together, we can do that. And I'll show you how I can change things to make it more interesting or make it more clear. If you have a second event or a third event, write those paragraphs. And then you have today. What is it like today? And so you have your topic sentence and your detail sentences and then your clincher. And you can use mine as an example. If you don't have that, you can let me know. But I can also, if I put it in this video here, it's hard to get the whole page on there. But you can, if I scan over this, then you can pause it when you can see it. And then you can use this video. So here's that other page. So pause it if you need to look at it. So just go to the video and you can go to this time, 13:17, that time in the video, and pause it, and then you'd be able to look at it. Okay. So by Wednesday, you should have your conclusion written and then be ready to watch this video. You don't have to watch this video on Wednesday. I just put it on there. You could also watch it here. So it's one or the other. But you need to watch it before revisions and proofreading and all of those things. Okay? I will see you for the next video. Have a good day. Happy writing.